Remember that becoming comfortable with silence is a journey, not an event. If you find silence uncomfortable at first, even anxiety-producing, that's completely normal. Our culture has conditioned us to equate silence with awkwardness, boredom, or disconnection. It takes time to rediscover silence as a source of power, clarity, and connection. As Nathan writes, silence is not the absence of something but the presence of everything. When we quiet the external noise, we create space to hear what matters most, the insights, connections, and deeper awareness that emerge only in stillness. I highly recommend reading the full book, as there are many more valuable insights and practical exercises than I could cover in this video. The principles are timeless, and the potential impact on your relationships, career, and well-being is profound. If you've read The Power of Silence or plan to pick it up after watching this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What's your relationship with silence? Do you embrace it or avoid it? What shifts are you planning to make? This book has genuinely changed how I communicate and experience the world. I believe it can do the same for you. Don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable and subscribe for more in-depth book summaries that can help transform your life. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Walk without podcasts or music, exercising without video content, or commuting without radio. The key takeaway from this section is that implementing silence doesn't require dramatic lifestyle changes. Small, consistent pockets of quiet, gradually expanded over time, can radically transform your experience of life in our noisy world. Let's summarize the most powerful insights from The Power of Silence. 1. Silence creates influence. When you speak less but more deliberately, people pay greater attention to what you say. The less you speak, the more impact your words have. 2. Silence enhances relationships. The ability to be comfortably silent with others is a sign of deep connection, not disconnection. Listening silence creates space for others to feel truly heard. 3. Silence builds leadership presence. Strategic silence in professional settings creates an aura of confidence and competence. The power pause before responding demonstrates thoughtful consideration. 4. Silence improves decision-making. Creating periods of quiet reflection allows for deeper analysis and intuitive insights to emerge before making important choices. 5. Silence restores mental clarity. Regular periods of silence counteract information overload and allow the brain to process and integrate information more effectively. 6. Silence regulates emotions. Creating space between trigger and response helps break reactive patterns and allows for more thoughtful choices in challenging situations. 7. Silence fosters creativity. Many of our most innovative ideas emerge during periods of quiet when the default mode network in our brain can fully activate. 8. Silence deepens self-awareness. Without the constant noise of external input and opinion, we can connect more authentically with our own values and priorities. 9. Silence can start small. Even micro-silences of 30 seconds to 2 minutes, practiced consistently throughout the day, can begin to transform your experience. 10. Silence is a practice, not a destination. Like any valuable skill, comfort with silence develops gradually through consistent practice and gentle expansion over time. The power of silence offers a profound yet practical counter-narrative to our culture's celebration of constant noise, busyness, and verbal dominance. What makes Nathan's approach so valuable is that it doesn't require radical lifestyle changes or hours of daily meditation to implement. Anyone, regardless of their circumstances, can begin incorporating strategic silence into their life today. The beauty of this approach is that it works from the inside out. As you create more external silence in your environment, you naturally develop more internal silence, the ability to remain cantered and clear amid life's inevitable chaos and challenges. I encourage you to start small. Perhaps commit to just 1 minute of complete silence each morning before checking your phone. Or try the power pause before responding in your next important conversation. Notice what shifts, even with these minimal changes. 2. Mini silences, 5 to 15 minutes. Slightly longer periods dedicated to quieting your mind, perhaps through a morning meditation, a silent cup of coffee before the household wakes, or a walk without digital devices. 3. Moderate silences, 30 minutes to 2 hours. More substantial periods of quiet that might include a silent hike, a technology-free evening, or a dedicated meditation practice. 4th, major silences, half day to multiple days. Extended experiences of silence that might include silent retreats, solo wilderness time, or designated silent days at home. Nathan emphasizes that you don't need to jump immediately to major silences to benefit. Starting with consistent micro and mini silences often leads naturally to a greater appetite for deeper quiet as you experience the benefits. He offers several practical strategies for incorporating silence into everyday life. 1. Silence triggers. Linking brief silence practices to existing habits. For example, taking 3 conscious breaths every time you wait for an elevator or sit at a red light. 2. Silence spaces. Designating specific physical locations as technology-free or conversation-free zones in your home or workplace. 3. Silence scheduling. Actually blocking time for silence on your calendar, giving it the same priority as meetings and other commitments. 4. Silence agreements. Creating explicit agreements with family members or co-workers about times or spaces reserved for quiet. 5. Progressive silence. Gradually increasing your comfort with silence by extending your practice over time, perhaps starting with just 1 minute daily and adding 30 seconds each week. Nathan shares the story of a busy mother of 3 who transformed her family dynamics by implementing what she called silent sundown. The 20 minutes before dinner when all devices were put away and everyone engaged in their own quiet activity in the same space. What began as a struggle, especially with teenagers, became a cherished family ritual that everyone protected. Share personal example of implementing silence practice. He also addresses common obstacles to silence practices. The productivity guilt that makes us feel we're wasting time when not actively doing something. The discomfort that often arises when we first experience genuine silence. The social pressure to always be available and responsive. The addiction to stimulation that makes silence feel boring initially. For each obstacle, he offers practical workarounds and perspective shifts. For example, he reframes silence not as doing nothing, but as doing something essential for your brain's functioning. Much like sleep isn't laziness, but necessary biological maintenance. A particularly valuable concept is what Nathan calls silence stacking, the practice of combining silence with another activity you already value. For instance, taking your daily 4. Nature silence, spending time in natural settings without artificial noise, which research shows reduces stress hormones and improves cognitive function. 5. Emotional processing. Silence, creating space to feel and process emotions fully before reacting to triggering situations. Nathan shares the story of a high-performing executive who was on the verge of burnout. Despite success by external metrics, he felt constantly anxious and unable to enjoy his achievements. Through implementing daily silence practices, particularly a 20-minute silent walk before entering his office each morning, he not only avoided burnout, but reported greater creativity and decision-making clarity. I've experienced this myself through a practice of Digital Silence Sundays, where I avoid screens for one full day each week. What began as a challenge has become something I look forward to, as it consistently generates my most creative ideas and restores my mental energy. Nathan introduces the concept of thought bubbles, the idea that thoughts, like bubbles, need space to rise to the surface of consciousness. When we fill every moment with input and activity, many of our most important insights never have the opportunity to emerge. He shares research on the default mode network, a system in the brain that activates when we're not focused on external tasks. This network plays a crucial role in memory consolidation, self-awareness, and creative insights. It only fully engages during periods of silence and mental rest. A particularly valuable concept is what Nathan calls emotional silence, the practice of creating space between an emotional trigger and your response to it. This form of inner silence helps break reactive patterns and allows for more thoughtful choices in challenging situations. The key takeaway from this section is that silence isn't just pleasant, it's necessary for optimal brain function and emotional regulation. In a world designed to capture and monetize your attention, choosing silence is a radical act of self-care and mental preservation. Part 5. Implementing silence in a noisy world, 40 to 49 minutes. In this practical section, Nathan addresses the obvious challenge. How do we actually create silence in our noise-filled lives? He acknowledges that finding silence isn't easy in our modern environment. Between work demands, family responsibilities, and the pull of digital distractions, silence often feels like an unattainable luxury. However, he argues that even small pockets of silence, implemented consistently, can transform our experience. Nathan provides a framework called the silence spectrum, recognizing that silence practices exist on a continuum from brief moments to extended retreats. 1. Micro-silences, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Brief pauses integrated throughout your day, before responding to an email, after finishing a task, or before entering an important meeting. I found this approach particularly effective in my own career. When I stopped feeling the need to demonstrate my knowledge by speaking first, and instead focused on building on what others had contributed, my ideas received much more engagement and support. Nathan also addresses how silence helps leaders make better decisions. He introduces the concept of quiet analysis, the practice of deliberately creating periods of silence before making important decisions. He shares research showing that leaders who take time for silent reflection before deciding outperform those who rely on immediate discussion and debate. Silence provides space for intuition to emerge and for unconscious processing to identify patterns that conscious analysis might miss. A particularly powerful concept is what Nathan calls the silence response, choosing not to react immediately to criticism, bad news, or provocation. Instead of defending, explaining, or counterattacking, skilled leaders often respond with attentive silence, which diffuses tension and creates space for more productive conversation. The key takeaway from this section is that silence isn't a lack of leadership. It's an expression of leadership confidence. When you're secure in your value and vision, you don't need to fill every moment with words to prove your worth. Silence for mental clarity and emotional well-being. In this transformative section, Nathan explores how silence serves as a powerful tool for mental clarity and emotional health in our noisy, overstimulating world. He begins with a startling finding from neuroscience. Our brains process an estimated 74 gigabytes of information daily, the equivalent of watching 16 movies. This constant input creates what neuroscientists call cognitive load, leaving our mental resources depleted and our attention fragmented. Silence is the antidote to this information overload. Nathan cites research showing that just 2 minutes of silence is more relaxing than listening to relaxing music. based on blood pressure measurements and circulation in the brain. Even more remarkably, a 2013 study published in the journal Brain Structure and Function found that 2 hours of silence daily led to the development of new cells in the hippocampus, the brain region associated with memory, emotion, and learning. Nathan identifies several types of silence practices that enhance mental and emotional well-being. 1. Morning silence. Beginning each day with 10 to 15 minutes of quiet reflection before engaging with devices or other people. This practice sets a foundation of centeredness that carries throughout the day. 2. Digital silence. Creating regular periods of disconnection from electronic devices, allowing your brain to process information without constant new input. 3. Transition silence. Taking brief moments of quiet between activities, even just 30 seconds, to clear your mind and prepare for the next task or interaction. Uncomfortable. This often leads the other party to improve their offer or reveal important information just to break the tension. One of the most valuable concepts in this section is what Nathan calls the art of not having the last word. Many relationship conflicts escalate because both parties insist on having the final say. Learning to let the other person have the last word, choosing silence over being right, can de-escalate tension and build trust. The key takeaway is that silence in relationships isn't about withdrawal or passive aggression. It's about creating space for deeper connection that words alone cannot achieve. The silent power of leadership. In this compelling section, Nathan reveals how silence can dramatically increase your leadership presence and influence. He begins with a counterintuitive insight. The most powerful people in any room are rarely the most talkative. Think about the leaders you most respect. Do they dominate every conversation, or do they listen carefully and speak deliberately? Nathan introduces the concept of silence authority, the natural authority that comes from being selective with your words. When you don't feel compelled to comment on everything, people pay more attention when you do choose to speak. He shares research from organizational psychology showing that in group settings, those who speak less but more deliberately are rated as having greater expertise than those who speak frequently. It's a principle that's been understood by influential leaders throughout history. Nathan offers several practical silence strategies for increasing your leadership presence. 1. The power pause. Before responding to any important question, pause for 3 to 5 seconds. This demonstrates that you're giving thoughtful consideration rather than reacting with the first thought that comes to mind. 2. Strategic questioning. Instead of making statements, ask thought-provoking questions that guide discussions and demonstrate your insight without dominating. 3. Comfortable silence. Showing that you're at ease with silence during negotiations or difficult conversations creates leverage. The other person often feels compelled to fill the silence, sometimes revealing valuable information. Attention. Silence. Giving someone your complete, undivided attention without interrupting, checking your phone, or planning your response is increasingly rare and therefore increasingly powerful. Nathan shares the story of a middle manager who was perpetually overlooked for promotion despite excellent performance. After reading about strategic silence, she made one change. She stopped speaking first in meetings. Instead, she listened carefully to what others said, identified the key issues being overlooked, and then offered her perspective. Within 6 months, she was promoted to a senior leadership position. The key takeaway from this section is that silence isn't just an absence, it's a presence with its own power. Learning to embrace strategic silence isn't about speaking less, it's about increasing the impact of everything you do say. Silence in relationships. In this illuminating section, Nathan explores how silence transforms our relationships, often in unexpected ways. He begins by addressing a common misconception. that good communication means constant communication. In reality, the healthiest relationships have a balance of meaningful conversation and comfortable silence. It's what Nathan calls the relationship paradox. The closer you are to someone, the more comfortable you can be in silence together. Think about it. Being able to sit quietly with someone without feeling the need to fill the space with words is actually a sign of deep connection, not disconnection. It demonstrates complete acceptance and comfort with one another. Nathan identifies several types of silence that strengthen relationships. 1. Listening. Silence. The practice of being fully present with another person without planning your response or waiting for your turn to speak. This type of silence creates space for the other person to feel truly heard and understood. 2. Empathetic silence. Sometimes, especially in moments of grief or profound emotion, words are inadequate. Sitting with someone in their pain without trying to fix it with words can be the most powerful form of support. 3. Reflective silence. Pausing before responding to emotional triggers, giving yourself space to choose your words carefully rather than reacting impulsively. 4. Connecting. Silence. The comfortable quiet that falls between two people who feel secure enough with each other not to fill every moment with words. Nathan shares several powerful examples of how these types of silence transform relationships. He tells the story of a couple on the brink of divorce who sought counseling. Their therapist gave them an unusual assignment: spend 30 minutes each evening sitting together without speaking, making eye contact for at least part of that time. The first few sessions were awkward and uncomfortable, but gradually, something shifted. By creating space for connection beyond words, they rediscovered the intimacy they had lost in years of talking at, rather than being with each other. For parents, Nathan suggests that silence can be equally powerful. He shares research showing that children open up more to parents who create pockets of quiet attention, like car rides without the radio or walks without conversation pressure, than to parents who constantly question them about their day. In professional relationships, strategic silence can completely transform negotiations and difficult conversations. Nathan references the awkward silence technique used by skilled negotiators. After receiving an offer, they remain silent even when the silence becomes. Throughout this video, we'll explore the key insights from Nathan's work and practical ways to incorporate strategic silence into your daily life. Whether you're looking to become more influential at work, create deeper connections with loved ones, or simply find more peace in your busy life, this book offers valuable wisdom. Let's start by understanding what Nathan means by silence. He's not just talking about the absence of speech. He's talking about a mindful, intentional quietness that allows for deeper understanding, connection, and power. This kind of silence requires awareness and purpose. It's an active choice rather than a passive default. The lost art of silence. Nathan begins by examining how our modern world has systematically devalued silence. We're constantly bombarded with noise, physical noise from our environments, digital noise from our devices, and mental noise from the endless stream of information we consume. This constant noise has profound consequences. Studies show that the average person now has an attention span shorter than a goldfish, just 8 seconds. We've become addicted to stimulation, uncomfortable with even brief moments of quiet. Nathan argues that this noise addiction comes at a tremendous cost. Without silence, we lose mental clarity. Our brains need quiet time to process information, make connections, and generate insights. Emotional regulation. Constant stimulation keeps us in a state of low-level stress. Deep relationships, meaningful connections require spaciousness in conversation. Creativity. Our most innovative ideas emerge when we allow our minds to wander in silence. Spiritual connection. Across traditions, silence has been recognized as essential for connecting with something larger than ourselves. He shares the fascinating example of composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who once said, "The music is not in the notes, but in the silence between them." It's in those spaces between notes that music finds its rhythm and emotional power. Similarly, it's in the silences between our words and actions that we find our own power and impact. Nathan points to research from Harvard Business School showing that leaders who practice strategic silence are rated as more competent and confident than those who feel compelled to fill every moment with words. Silence, when used deliberately, creates an aura of authority. He introduces what he calls the silence paradox. The less you speak, the more weight your words carry when you do choose to speak. Think about the people in your life whose opinions you value most. Are they the ones who share every thought that crosses their mind, or the ones who speak carefully and deliberately? Nathan shares the story of a corporate executive who transformed her leadership presence simply by counting to 5 before responding to any question in meetings. This small change completely shifted how others perceived her, from reactive to thoughtful, from ordinary to exceptional. In a world that never stops talking, have you ever wondered where true power really lies? What if I told you that the most influential people aren't those who speak the loudest, but those who know when to remain silent? In our hyper-connected reality of constant notifications, endless social media updates, and 24/7 news cycles, silence has become revolutionary. It's become rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. Today, we're exploring Kelvin W. Nathan's transformative book, The Power of Silence, which reveals how strategic silence isn't just absence of noise. It's a presence of power that can transform your relationships, skyrocket your success, and bring profound peace to your life when you need it most. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the most powerful moments in your life might not be when you speak up, but when you deliberately choose to remain silent. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could completely transform how you communicate and experience the world around you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm incredibly excited to share insights from a book that challenged everything I thought I knew about communication and personal power, The Power of Silence by Kelvin W. Nathan. Before we dive in, I want to share something personal. Like many of you, I grew up believing that success belonged to the loudest voices in the room, the people who always had something to say, who dominated conversations, who never hesitated to share their opinions. I thought silence was weakness. I equated it with having nothing valuable to contribute. Then I discovered this book, and it completely shifted my perspective. Nathan reveals that silence, when used deliberately and strategically, is actually one of the most powerful communication tools available to us. It's not about being passive or withdrawn. It's about recognizing when silence serves you better than words ever could. The Power of Silence explores how deliberate silence can strengthen your personal relationships, increase your professional influence, enhance your decision-making abilities, deepen your spiritual connection, improve your mental and emotional well-being.